Despite a weak global opening weekend for Superman, David Zaslav has put his full support behind James Gunn and his vision for the DC Universe in a new statement. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. And Gunn's Superman film only opened to $217 million globally, and interestingly enough, did better domestically than it did internationally. It grossed $122 million domestically and just $95 million internationally. Those numbers are worse than previous Superman films such as Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and Bryan Singer's Superman Returns. When adjusted for inflation, it also performed worse than Matt Reeves' The Batman film, which did $134 million domestically in its opening weekend back in 2022 without even adjusting for inflation. Additionally, the film is far from having one of the top opening weekends of 2025. Disney's Lilo and Stitch did $361.3 million worldwide, and Jurassic World Rebirth had a global opening of $318.3 million. A Minecraft movie also had a $301 million global opening. Superman did post the third highest domestic opening weekend, only behind a Minecraft movie and Lilo and Stitch as a consolation. Despite the weak opening weekend, Zaslav issued a statement committing to Gunn's vision, saying, 3 years ago, I hired James Gunn and Peter Safran to reimagine and unify the creative direction of DC under one leadership team by breathing new life and excitement into one of the most iconic storytelling franchises in the world. James and Peter's commitment to honoring the legacy of the DC Universe while forging something new and enthralling is inspired. I remember my first meeting with James 3 years ago. He spoke about growing up in Missouri and how the characters of the DC Universe weren't just stories to him, they were like his family. His personal bond with these DC heroes was powerful, and I knew then that James was the right person to bring them to life. His love for the DC world runs deep, and it shines in every frame of his work. This weekend, we watched Superman soar as James Gunn's passion and vision came to life on the big screen. Superman is just the first step. Over the next year alone, DC Studios will introduce the films Supergirl and Clayface in theaters and the series Lanterns on HBO Max, all part of a bold 10-year plan. The DC vision is clear, the momentum is real, and I couldn't be more excited for what's ahead, he concluded. I think this is a really good comment here from Mr. 0303 over on phantompulse.com. He says this is the completely opposite statement of the one he needs to make. James Gunn is fired, and I concur. I mean, you're making a Supergirl and a Clayface movie as your follow-up to Superman. What? Who thought that was a good idea? James Gunn, clearly. And for everyone who is saying that Superman is great, I have not seen it. I do not plan on seeing it. I thought the promotional material for the movie looked absolute garbage. There were numerous scenes in the trailers that were complete turnoffs to me. The fact that Superman is just getting constantly pummeled in multiple trailers. The fact that we see him being or losing his cool constantly, being reamed out by Lois Lane, asking him kind of, not even really being reamed out, but just being asked simple questions, and he's just completely losing his cool. That is not how Superman should act whatsoever. That's not how he should act. And I don't like that depiction of him. I don't like that characterization at all. And then the scene where he's shouting and yelling at Lex Luthor kind of reinforces that that was kind of how they were going to characterize him in the film, because they also released that clip as well. And then there's the scene where Lois is flying the spaceship and looks like she's in charge and saving the day as well. And I've seen that time and time again in Marvel movies, and I'm just not interested in that type of feminism anymore. So was not interested in seeing the film, and that was what James Gunn was marketing it. And then he decided to try to make it an immigration allegory as well, talking to the Sunday Times over in the UK about how it is the story of an immigrant and it is like the story of America, etc. And then his brother, Sean Gunn, saying, if you don't support immigration, you're not American. Really not interested in those comments either. And that even more further solidified my opinion not to go see this movie. And from what I've seen from lots of different people, I don't think I really missed out on anything. Obviously, there's some of the people that say it's pretty good, but it seems like most of the people that have seen it, it was just so-so. And it looks like, based on these box office numbers, that I was not in the minority when it comes to not seeing it. Lots of people did not go see this movie, found something better to do with their time than to go see one of James Gunn's movies, his Superman movie. But I just don't really like what I'm seeing here. And this isn't just with the Superman film. Wrote this other article up over here on the Supergirl movie. He's saying that the character will be a mess. She's depicted as basically a drunk party girl who doesn't even realize that the door to the Fortress of Solitude had not been moved. She thinks it has been moved. That's how absolutely wasted and out of her mind that she is. And we already knew that the Supergirl movie was on rough ground, because he said that they're basing it off of this Tom King run of Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow. But Gunn says this about Supergirl to Screen Rant, saying she's a mess. She's a total mess. I mean, I think as we learn, she's had a completely different background from Superman, a much more difficult background. He's had this wonderful upbringing by these two parents that loved him and were very wealthy, and her background was much different than that. And she's ended up different than her cousin. And it looks like they're going to be following this storyline here from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which I think is just absolutely terrible messaging in it. I mean, it ends with Supergirl basically being an accessory to murder, as she brings a guy who had served a nearly 3-century sentence in the Phantom Zone out of the Phantom Zone to allow this woman who was unable to execute him when she was a young woman, who's now an old lady and clearly been harboring revenge, and then executes him, as he has clearly changed who he is and immediately seeks her forgiveness. And what does Supergirl do? She allows this old lady to execute this guy. And that is not something I'm interested in seeing either. And this is apparently part of James Gunn's vision, this bold vision that David Zaslav is talking about. And it's a vision that deserves to be in the trash can. And as I said, Mr. 0303 said, what David Zaslav should be saying is, you're fired. This was not good enough. And if you look at some of the box office numbers, they are not good. Obviously, $217 million. There is a report from the state of Ohio that the film's production budget, I think, was $363 or something like that. Maybe 368. $363.8 million from the state of Ohio. That means the film would need to gross at least $1.091 billion just to break even. Really bad there if that number is accurate. And just at $217 million globally, unlikely to get that, as my friend and box office analyst OMB Review says. Usually your opening weekend is about a third of what you make. So 217 times 3, that gives you like what, 651 million to break even. That is nowhere near 1.091 billion. So likely the film is going to lose a lot of money as well. And when you're starting off at that point, and your next movies are Supergirl and Clayface, you better hope that those production budgets are a lot lower, because I expect that you're going to see diminishing returns very, very quickly when you're looking at C-tier level characters. We're not even talking about B tier. And don't get me wrong, I like Clayface. I think he's a good Batman villain, but as a standalone film, maybe not so much. How many movies have we seen where they try to do these solo villains and they don't do well? Just look at what Sony tried to do with all of the Spider-Man villains. The only one that they had somewhat success at was Venom. But you look at Craven, you look at Morbius, they failed utterly. And I expect that Clayface will probably follow in their in their footsteps rather than in Venom's footsteps. But anyways, let me know what you guys make of what David Zaslav had to say here, and him basically putting his faith in James Gunn for the next 10 years. That is a very long time, and I think it's going to be a lot longer for David Zaslav, given what we're seeing here from Superman already. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.